What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of the tribe, and how the devil are we all doing today? I bet you're doing great because you're looking fantastic. I mean, have you seen you lately? You look beautiful. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, how the devil are we doing? I recently did a video that went over the rankings of the galactic legends that exist within the game right now as they stand, where I think they belong on that list, which perform the best in PvP, which are the best for your roster. And I wanted to do the same thing for Conquest units. There are a lot of Conquest units out there, and they are typically very, very powerful. Only certain units, generally speaking, are more powerful than Conquest units. Generally speaking, a couple of legendaries potentially, sometimes a marquee unit because the Great Mothers do exist, and occasionally, you know, like a standard marquee unit. However, when people do hit that 4 million GP threshold and they're able to go into hard mode of Conquest, they're gaining access to Proving Grounds, you've all of a sudden got a wider, broader access to these incredibly powerful units. So I'm going to go ahead and try to rank them all in order for you so you know which ones to focus on first. Now, I will note before we begin, this will not include the ships because I think the ships are just going to muddy the waters here. So we're focusing on playable units, and I'll try and do them in the order in which they were released. Let's break it down. Alrighty, so we got the S tier over here, A, B, C, D, E, and F, no E. Apparently we just go A, B, C, D, F, because once you go past the D, it's a complete failure. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so how I'm going to do this is, say I put a unit in the S tier, like Stranger over here. S stands for Stranger, right? If he's on the far left side, that means he is the best. If I was to put Mars next to him, that means he's the best, and then it's Mars, okay? So there's going to be an order to things, even if things are on the same tier as other units, okay? With that being said, currently, as we have in game, there are 18 Conquest units, playable characters that are available in the game. One of them has only just been added, and that is Satil Shan over here. I can't really accurately assess how good she is because things will change, and inevitably when she comes out she's probably going to have a datacron, which is going to massively improve her performance in the short term. However, I'll do my best to guesstimate where she belongs. Alright, so we are going to start from the order in which they were released, if I can remember that order. It's okay, I found a list in which they showed the order. So the very first unit that is a playable unit, not a ship, that was released is Commander Ahsoka Tano. Now, Commander Ahsoka Tano is a vital unit for everybody's roster. Absolutely. If you've got Jedi Master Kenobi, but you do not have Commander Ahsoka Tano, your galactic legend is basically a galactic failure. He just gets stomped by pretty much everything. And he's still worth getting, don't get me wrong, but Cat really elevates that team into viability, basically. She also has a lot of viability in pretty much any team that you can put her into. She's great with Padme back in the days that you could use Padme, and she will fit nicely in a Rey team if you don't have JMK. She will always elevate units. She's great with Scoundrels as well, like a BAM Scoundrel team with Cat. Loads of damage there. Now, that being said, JMK's viability, which is where she will be used 99% of the time, has dropped massively in recent years thanks to all of the influx of teams that seem to counter him. Normally, I would put her quite high up on this list. However, right now, I'm feeling she is probably about a B tier. She is very, very strong, but she's lost that raid viability that we used to have. She was a great unit for soloing the Heroic Sith raid, for example. JMK's viability has dropped, and nowadays we've got more units that can insta-kill. She's got one insta-kill she can use once. Stranger over here has got 3. I mean, come on. If that's not power creep, I don't know what is. So I'm going to place her firmly in B. We might move this around a little bit. Okay, so after Commander Ahsoka Tano, the next playable unit that we had was Maul, ladies and gentlemen. Conquest Maul over here. He is a very, very good unit as well, and I would probably argue he floats somewhere between an A and a B tier. He was operating as sort of the same lifter for Lord Vader that Cat was for JMK, right? After a while, we had a little bit of a revamp for the Moldalorians faction, you know, with Gar Saxon and ISC gaining massive damage outputs, it really did elevate his viability and gave him a little bit of usability outside of the Lord Vader team. He's a lot of fun. I wouldn't say straight up in a power-on-power comparison, he's as good or as useful as Cat. However, over time, that has become more prevalent. He can also go very well in a stranger team, okay? And we're going to find out just how useful that is over the long term. Most people are not going to have Spider Legs Maul, the latest, not Conquest unit, sorry, Journey Guide unit from this era that is just wrapping up now. But I'm sure that in 5v5, Maul with a stranger comp is still going to be very, very powerful and very useful. That being said, I think he has a little bit more viability than Cat, but it is very, very close in my opinion. Very useful to get, still has boatloads of damage output, and is kind of a fun character and a fan favorite unit overall. So I would say he's probably just about beats out Cat. These could go either way, truth be told, because they are very similar in power levels. They did release one after the other. Next up is my boy Big Dad Bod Boba. Now, Big Dad Bod Boba over here, he's probably going to jump up here. I will be honest, we're about to finish off this particular set of error units, and within that error units we have got a release for Asajj Dark Disciple, and she is designed to uplift Boba Fett with Fennec and Zuckuss and Forlorn. The only reason I can't really push him high, or maybe I do, maybe I actually just say screw it, you know what? I know he's going to be jumping up higher. He historically would be down here, except for when he's in TW and then he's like there. All right, so historically he has not performed well unless he had his Datacron where it was just him and Fennec, and then he was like all the way up here or up here. Do you know what I mean? However, with the release of Asajj Dark Disciple, this guy is going to be taking down GLs, and in Territory Wars he's going to be an absolute monster. So I'm quite confident in putting him high. Normally I would have him all the way down here. Truth be told, not a lot of viability, nothing that special. Inside of Territory Wars, obviously a lot better with 3 Omicrons, you would think so, right? But he does require, for him to be up here, he does require Asajj Ventress Dark Disciple, does require Zuckuss, does require Forlorn and Fennec, all invested into a good level. I think this guy is going to be dominating holotables in just a few short weeks, so I think he deserves that place of power right now. People are going to lose their minds when they see a Conquest ranking with Dad Bod Boba higher than Cat and Maul, but I don't make the rules. Actually, I do make in this instance, I absolutely make the rules, but hey, I don't know, comment down below and tell me I'm wrong. That's fine as well. After that, our next unit was Darth Malgus. Now, Darth Malgus is actually a pretty strong contender here. He does have some good PvP viability. He's definitely not a C-ranked unit. He does have good PvP viability, and quite often I find if there is a problematic team in in Grand Arena Championships, very frequently the solution is to use Malgus. Very frequently. We've had that, you know, Boba Fett FDC recently with Zam and all that business, and he solos that. You know, that's quite nice. Being able to just solo a Boba Fett FDC on his own. He also does well against things like Great Mothers, you know? So these are very powerful defensive teams that he can do quite successfully. He's also a requirement, of course, for the Leviathan. The Leviathan fleet requires his ship, and alongside units like Darth Revan and Malak and stuff like that. So he is incredibly valuable to your roster overall. Now, is he as flashy as the others? Maybe, maybe not. You know, perhaps we need to move him up to the top of this row because, realistically speaking, Malgus does do a whole lot more. Leviathan is still, to this day, thanks to CG's infinite wisdom of not releasing new fleets, he's still vitally important there because the Leviathan is just too powerful. Everybody will want to have that. If you want to be competitive and you want to be able to, you know, max out in GAC performance and do well in things like territory battles, although the Leviathan fleet, not really that useful there. I only use it during the Mandalore phase, I want to say. He's got some good counter ability, he's pretty good on defense, pretty good on offense, and he's part of the most meta fleet. I feel like maybe that probably does edge him out over Cat and over Maul, but not quite as good as Dad Bod Boba, who's going to be slapping down Galactic Legends. Alright, so after Malgus, we have Swen Bolihole. Now Swen, Ben Swolo over here, when he came to the game, he completely transformed your Rey team. Rey went from being, at that point, kind of middling in terms of GL capabilities. She was a little bit susceptible to getting run over by a lot of teams, to becoming very, very valuable indeed. I definitely think that Ben, the value that Ben brings, I'm still learning how to rearrange these, the value that Ben brings to Rey is now more valuable than these, in my opinion. Because Rey is one of those units that is almost evergreen on defense at this point, it really does require Ben to make her a bit more of a puzzle box to solve, right? You throw in Ben with Rey team, then you throw in whatever powerful light side unit that CG releases, because inevitably a light side unit gets released and Rey wants to try and steal it if it is significantly powerful enough and has enough plug and play capability to just be able to slot into a Rey team. He's needed for that. He also does monstrous damage on his own, nice AoE damage, ignores taunts, attacks under protection, and of course, the ability to constantly revive in GAC if Rey is still alive and to keep Rey alive, all that sort of good business, just makes him incredibly annoying and valuable. I wouldn't say he is the greatest of the greatest, but I would say he definitely deserves his spot amongst these three, probably just below Malgus, because Malgus has that additional viability in terms of fleet. Next up, we have got Admiral Trench. Where are you, Spider Boy? Drop him with the bomb. There we go. Done talking about Trench. There's a reason we say Trench is on the bench. He does have viability, guys. Don't let me tell you he does not have viability, because he does. He has got a triple TW Omicron that makes him take out certain GLs, and that is very valuable. But nobody cares about Territory Wars, or very few people care about Territory Wars, and the only people that care less about Territory Wars than the players is clearly CG, because they haven't updated it since before I started playing the game. So, whilst in Territory Wars he is very, very good, unless he has a particularly powerful Datacron, he doesn't really do a whole lot in the current meta and never has, pretty much since release. Even when he's got specific Datacrons for his faction, for himself, or for some of his teams, he still doesn't particularly shine unless it's in Territory War. I have to be honest, Trench has to be the worst Conquest unit. He belongs in the dumpster pile. Next up, my personal favorite, Malicos. Oh my god, do I love Malicos. Like, he is it's what you want from a Conquest unit. Just absolute monstrous damage with really cool animations, a cool kit. Unaligned Force Users is a really cool faction, to be fair. Both light side and dark side, they're very cool factions, you know. We've got some more over here, you know, and Ben as well. He's just so much fun. Throw him in. Obviously, recently, he's had a little bit of his power sapped away thanks to the Stranger. Stranger comes in, steals Starkiller. You can no longer do Seer Starkiller Malicos. I mean, you can, if you really want to. You totally can. You can even throw him under a Stranger team with Ezra Bridger Exile, and that makes an absolute monster of a team. He's just so much fun. He slaps down GLs for fun. Really cool animations, boatloads of damage, interesting, nuanced kit. Absolutely love him. So yes, everything that you want within a Conquest unit, Malicos has it. He's also not broken levels of survivable. That's kind of his weakness, is he is not an unkillable unit. You look at some units like Ezra, you look at some units like Bane, they feel like they are units that are just impossible to take down at times. Malicos doesn't have that. He is relatively squishy, but you do have to kill him quickly because he will ramp and he will terrify you. Love Malicos. I'm going to put him ahead of Boba Fett, Sign of Django, because even though my boy's bald over here, this guy's just a monster. I love him. Next up is going to be DTMG, fitting firmly in the D pile. I mean, he's not really that bad, all right? He isn't really that bad. I'll move him up to a C. Particularly in Territory Wars with his Omicrons, this guy is phenomenal. He has more viability, in my opinion, than the Trench Separatist team. That team with Gideon, with Scout Trooper, Death Trooper, that sort of business, really, really powerful team, actually. Not like earth-shatteringly powerful, but viable on both defense and offense, can be mixed into team comps and makes good units work, okay? So I quite like DTMG, and he's required for Rise of the Empire, one of the territory battles over there, even though you do need a lot of investment in your DTMG and in your Imperial Remnants. I'm still hopeful that we will get some additional Imperial Remnants down the line that elevates this team a little bit higher, but for right now, I would say he's great, but nothing incredibly special about him. So real quick, before we go any further, sorry Tribe, is just, you know, your boy Scribe with a big old mug of coffee, am I right? Really gets me up in the morning. So what also gets me up in the morning, in the long, hard days to continue is noticing when my subscriber count is going up. Now, I try to put out as much video content as I possibly can for you guys, and I'm on an absolute mission to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro to try and really maximize my outreach over here. So when I look and I see only about 50% of my viewers are subscribed, it does make me a little bit sad, and it gives me absolutely no hope that I'll ever grow any more hair ever again. So if you could do me one massive favor, it is completely free to you guys, and it does a heck of a lot to improve my channel. It lets me reach more people and lets me keep climbing up that mountain, as we say. Do me a big favor, please, please, please hit that subscribe button. Let's get back to it. Next up on the list is our winner. I mean, listen, yeah, Bane is going to be number one. Bane is Bane. There's a reason we like to joke and call him Galactic Legend Bane. He is that powerful. We call him C, we don't call him C's lifter, we call C his lifter. Even though realistically, most of the time, he doesn't even need C. That's how powerful he is. The only detriment to Bane is that you can't set him on defense. You can, but you will lose all of the viability, right? He has to be a duo, realistically speaking, to get the most value out of him. Otherwise, you turn off his Rule of 2 unique, and that's where all of the power really reigns. His kit is great. His kit is absolutely fantastic, but it's like when you add that Rule of 2 unique, it really elevates him to the next level. But he is able to take out things like Lord Vader, he can take out things like Rey, he can take out things like pretty much anything. If you've got a problem, Bane is basically your get out of jail free card. Really, really enjoy this guy. Phenomenal. Wish I could R10 him, to be honest, because that would still be great. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. You'll use him at R7 and you'll be like, wow, this is what a real unit feels like. He is basically Galactic Legend levels of power. Love him. Absolutely love him. After Bane, we had another absolute banger of a unit. Queen Amidala coming in. At this point, I do actually rate Queen Amidala slightly above Malicos. I genuinely do. And I know that might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but I would say that Queen Amidala is powerful enough now to warrant that level of power on this scale. She is great defensively, can cause absolute nightmares to people on defense, but offensively, she destroys things, absolutely destroys things, can take out Galactic Legends, can take out Stranger Comps, can take out pretty much anything you want for really good banners with a high degree of viability. Also, her 2 units, you know, Padawan, Obi-Wan, Master Qui-Gon Jinn, you want them Relic 9 for Duel of the Fates. She was an old raid team that you could max out the score at the top tier. A lot of people are going to have a lot of investment in their Queen Amidala, and so they should. I would probably say she's borderline going up to this S tier over here. Alright, she is that powerful. Absolutely love her. Incredibly annoying tank to deal with, really powerful support allies around her, and she's just great fun to use in every game mode. She'll full auto a lot of things. You'll have no problem with Conquest. She demolishes a lot of TB as well, Rise of the Empire TB. Love her. Absolutely love her. After that, we got my boy Luthen Rail. Is Luthen, does he really, I mean, he's definitely better than DTMG. He might even be belonging up here. Luthen is a really good unit. I think Luthen's main problem is that the teams that he's uplifting are not like absolute dominant unless there's a really powerful Datacron in play. Currently, we've got loads of very powerful Datacrons in play thanks to the snafu of December. Luthen transforms Mon Mothma and any Rebel fighter team, really, with Saw Gerrera. Makes them absolute monsters to deal with. Brings in a nice summoned unit, lots of control, fear, great damage output, constant survivability in the terms of summoning and resummoning that tank, calling assists, all that good business. The only thing that I don't particularly like about him is it doesn't feel like a lot of the, like sometimes in the past we've had like Mon Mothma teams with Luthen being able to take out things like Leia, GL Leia, right? Maybe we'll see that day again. But it feels like right now, unless you are playing against a hampered GL team that maybe doesn't have a Datacron, or a non-ideal or unoptimized Galactic Legend team, he's not really punching down those GLs particularly reliably. Still very, very powerful and a lot of fun. Comes from a great show too. Next up, I think we have what is almost certainly going to be our number 2 Conquest unit, Ezra Bridger Exile from the Andor Ahsoka series. They both start with A, and we were just speaking about an Andor unit. That's why my brain got confused. Ezra Bridger Exile is a horrendous unit. Like, he is so annoying to play against. He's one of the, you know, when I was talking about earlier about Malicos, how he's got boatloads of damage, but he's a little bit squishy. Bane and Ezra don't have that problem. They don't have that problem. Now, maybe Ezra doesn't quite have the same damage output as Bane over time, or even Taron Malicos, but he still does a respectable amount of damage. He has got insane levels of survivability though. He is able to build up his own mastery a lot of the times, depending on the team that he's in, as well as his own GAC Omicrons. Which gives him more survivability through evasion, just making him incredibly annoying, because if you can't hit him, you can't kill him. And even if you can hit him, you can never assist against him, and even if you do deal damage to him, he's incredibly tanky, and if you start to lower his health, he has got an amazing, like, 60% health and 60% protection heal turn meter swap with another unit, as well as, a special attack that will stun and crit you 3 times, and a basic that will call allies to assist. He is tanky, damage dealing, survivable, unhittable. It's the reason I'm bold, because facing this guy, nightmare. He goes in so many teams. He can go in a GLAT team, he can go in a JML team, he can go in an Ezra a Rey team, a Rey Ezra team, which is still one of the most annoying defensive teams to face off against. 100% worthwhile. If you can get Bane and you can get Ezra, you are a long way into your journey of having the best units in the game. Those two, absolutely top tier. The unit that came out afterwards was also very powerful. It is our girl Rey Darkside Vision. She did a lot for Slacker. Stops him from siphoning away his own mastery too much and lowering his max health and stuff like that. She gives him a lot of survivability, introduces a revive, and massive amounts of damage. You can see that when you go into 3v3 and you use a lightning ability, the amount of damage this girl can put out is absolutely astronomical. Gives you a load of survivability at the start. Now, obviously right now, defensively speaking, you don't really see a whole lot of slackers on defense. We saw it for a long time when her particular Datacron was in play, because that was next levels of broken, right? Without it, Slacker is a much more reasonable team on defense and a much more reasonable team on offense. That being said, she brings a lot to the table, and you can realistically throw her in with like a crew team when your Slacker doesn't need to have Rey. And that happens occasionally if we have like the Alphabetti Spaghetti Pilotcron like we had not too long ago. Very powerful unit, really cool animations. Some of the coolest animations in the game, I would say. Do very much rate Darkside Vision Rey. Next up on the board, we've got Smee. Honestly, Smee looks like a lot of fun and can do a lot of damage. The problem is the pirate faction in general already has enough damage, and yet he's got TW viability, but it's not like, it doesn't feel otherworldly kind of levels of viable. I think CG tried to be careful in how they played this game, because they didn't want to make Pirate King Hondo too ridiculously broken on defense with Smee's triple Omicrons, as well as, can't remember who else has it, some other unit that had a GAC Omicron. I feel like they wanted to try and rein in the power. They're like Galactic Legend with triple Omni. I see where they were going with that, but it just feels like it falls short of the mark on the whole. He's still okay, but I would rather have like Brutus, for example, if I'm using damage. Ithano does plenty of damage. You know, I'll still use him, but sometimes he's just not, he doesn't feel transformational. And I think that's the big issue. Doesn't feel transformational is where I would put that. After Smee, we had my girl Mars come into the game, and Mars is okay. Mars is okay. She may even be a little bit higher than my boy Luthen in terms of viability, maybe even higher than Cat and Maul. She doesn't cause enough problems as far as I'm concerned. Doesn't cause enough problems. Now, if you have a lot of investment into your pirates, she is a lot of fun. She's a great raid team. She does okay from what I've experienced in TB, but a lot of things can do okay in TB, truth be told. Territory Wars, I never use her for anything. So unless there's some sort of Datacron out there that really changes her, she is kind of a GAC team for me. She's got those triple Omnis, and it does cause some issues on defense, but the defensive solutions have largely been figured out at this point. Usually it's Balin, let's be real. Or JML, you know, like obviously those are strong units as well to take out, but everything on this list is strong to a degree. It just kind of drops off below here, I want to say. So Mars, yeah, she's okay. She's pretty fun to play as. nothing earth-shattering is how I would say. Now, there was a time when she first came out and we were absolutely dogging on Lord Vader teams, and that was a lot of fun. The current Datacron sets kind of hamper that, just because if you have enough power on your Lord Vader, you can dismantle the Maz team before it even gets going. Maybe we will see a return to power and I'll have to lift this girl up, probably quite significantly so, through these leadership rankings, because Conquest teams that can beat GLs are very, very useful. She might have to go up throughout time. Waits to be seen, I guess. I just realized we missed one. Before Smee, we actually have Jocasta Nu. I missed Jocasta Nu. Sorry, Miss Jocasta Nu. Like, no, I mean, she probably belongs here. Jedi Master Mace Windu. This is her problem. She needs Jedi Master Mace Windu to have viability. The problem with Jedi Master Mace Windu is his level of viability is depressingly small, considering he's got a Conquest unit with triple Omicron, as well as him being a legendary unit himself. He just doesn't do enough. And whilst Jocasta is fun and she's got viability in the raid, and you know, she has that error battle which we may or may not ever see again, it's not enough. And day one, this team was getting beaten by common teams like Malgus, taking out this team very, very easily. She has a one key weakness, which is if you get rid of her protection, she's not going to do anything. And if you cause her to miss her bonus turn through things like fear or through doubt or stuff like that, it just kind of ruins her. At the moment, it doesn't feel like she's doing enough that is specials. Can still take out a load of things. Everything here can take out a load of things. But she's just, compared to the others, she fails to impress massively. Although she does have a gun, and that is very, very cool. Then we have our most recent playable unit, the Stranger. Stranger is actually very powerful. He probably deserves to be a little bit higher than this. Maybe, maybe not. The only issue I have with this is that we haven't really seen the viability of the Stranger team now that we have Spider Legs Maul in the game, and it's going to take some time for us to get to grips with that to really get an idea. He is very powerful. He can stomp down a lot of Galactic Legends, so maybe I actually put him up higher than Darkside Vision Rey, just because he doesn't need a Galactic Legend. However, he is a Conquest unit. He does require a boatload of Omicrons. He's got 3. Starkiller has got 3. Maul has got 3. That's a lot of Omicrons for one team. I would expect this team to be very, very powerful. So, yeah, Stranger, definitely a whole lot of fun. Definitely a whole lot of fun. Defensively, he does get beat by things like Queen Amidala, so that is something to be concerned about. More accessible units that have been out longer already beating him is one thing. However, if you do not have the particular units to counter him and you've wasted your ideal teams, he is defensively a nightmare to deal with, especially with things like you throw in Malicos, you throw in Ezra Bridger Exile into his 5v5 team, and you've got yourself a whole host of trouble. So yes, I do really, really like the Stranger, and I really rate him. He probably could be anywhere around here. Until we see Spider Legs Maul in action though, I'm going to have to hold judgment. Now finally, we have got just Satele Shan left on the board, and we don't know her viability. My only concern with Satele Shan's team is that her team is slow. Her team is slow. There's going to be a boatload of damage out there if you can survive, and if you can get a taunt up. The highest speed, like the characters on her team are all like 160 speed-ish, 160 to 170 speed, which in this modern day and age is not very fast, considering there's no additional speed in the leadership, there's no TM gains, there's very few bonus turns or anything like that. And if she cannot taunt, the majority of the power of her kit gets diminished, okay? She's also stealing Jedi Knight Revan from JML, which makes me a little bit sad. But I'm hopeful. I have a feeling that we will see more Old Republic at some point that will help lift this team. But because we can't test it, and because I feel like she's going to be countered by things like EP Mara Jade and Treya and stuff like that, anything that will lock her down, I almost feel like Imperial Troopers will beat this team. Because if she can't take a turn, and she can't taunt, then she can't stop TM gains, she can't get the benefits of dealing massive amounts of damage, and things just fall apart very, very quickly. So, I don't know, I'm hopeful that she can do something, but right now I feel like her team needs a little bit more tech in it to help let her taunt. So maybe you'd actually just go ahead and throw in what and place a tank tech on her, maybe that does something. I don't know. Time will tell. That's my best estimate guess that I can do for this one. So that's going to do it for my tier list, I think. Absolutely top tier units with Bane and Ezra. Then we're going Queen Amidala, Malicos, Dadbod Boba. This is after these units have gone into the game. I'm talking Asajj, Dark Disciple, Stranger, and then Dark Side Vision Rey. After that, it's going to be the big lifter units, right? Malgus for the Darth Revan team, Ben Solo for your Rey team, Maul for your Lord Vader, and then lifting out into his own Mandalorian team. Commander Ahsoka Tano for JMK, Satele, maybe. Jocasta Nu, this is where it starts to fall off a bit. They're still good units, but not really shining enough. Luthen, situationally good and raises and lowers in power with Datacrons. He probably deserves to be above Jocasta Nu. Same for Mars, really. She's just a little bit too dependent, but still a lot of fun. Good faction. Then you've got teams like DTMG. Great in TB, really are. Great in TW, but it doesn't feel like they have GAC viability or not enough. Smee just doesn't hit the mark. The Pirates are a very good faction, and even though he is a good unit, he just gets outpaced by other units or just doesn't seem worth the investment. Finally, you got Trench. He's Trench. All right, guys, sick. I want you to let me know, how do you feel about this list? Where would you do yours? I'll see if I can save this and leave a link, and you all can do your own versions of this and leave it in the comments down below. Hope this video was fun, a little bit of lightheartedness, and hopes guide you towards where you should be investing in terms of proving grounds along the way. I will see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.